Chapter 271. The four sides of the platform were lined with 81 stone steps, connecting the steps to the floor of the stone hall. As Zhang Liang stepped onto the first stone step, the four bronze corpses on the platform simultaneously turned around. Their four gray-black eyes fixed intently on Zhang Liang, generating a suffocating sense of pressure. A hint of panic flashed in Zhang Liang's eyes, but after steadying his mind, he continued to ascend. As he drew closer to the platform, the malevolent aura emanating from the bronze corpses grew stronger, as if they would tear him apart the moment he dared to step onto the platform. In the distance, Tang Fu, Miao Fa, and the others watched the movements of the bronze corpses with grave expressions. Fearful that they would suddenly spring into action, at the same time they were extremely curious about how Zhang Liang planned to lure the bronze corpses off the platform. After Zhang Liang reached the last step, he did not rush to take the next step but instead stood still on the final stone step. At that moment, there was not a trace of tension on his face. Instead, he wore a calm expression, even displaying a strange smile, just as recorded in the jade slip. As long as I don't step onto the platform, these bronze corpses won't attack on their own. Since that's the case, the method to lure the corpses recorded in the jade slip should also be effective. Zhang Liang thought to himself. He then formed several hand seals with his hands and directed them at the four bronze corpses. Next, he threw four blood-colored chunks of flesh about the size of a basin, which landed not far from the four corners of the platform. Immediately, the bronze corpses' eyes began to turn red, and low, guttural roars escaped their mouths. They exerted force with their legs, leaping high into the air and pouncing toward the four pieces of flesh below the platform. Like starving wild beasts, they snatched up the flesh and brought it to their mouths. The basin-sized pieces of flesh were quickly torn apart and swallowed whole under their bites. However, the chunks of flesh clearly did not satisfy them. Instead, they sparked a deeper craving for blood and flesh within them. They raised their bloody eyes, exposing their sharp fangs still smeared with flesh, and gazed toward Tang Fu and the others. Seeing this, Tang Fu and Miao Fa's expressions changed dramatically. Why aren't the bronze corpses attacking Zhang Liang? Miao Fa exclaimed, panic-stricken, as he questioned Tang Fu beside him. Damn it. The jade slip Zhang Liang showed me must be incomplete. He's deliberately concealed critical information from us. Tang Fu glared at Zhang Liang, who was walking step by step toward the bronze coffin on the platform, filled with resentment. At this moment, he finally understood that from the very beginning, Zhang Liang had been using him. Before he could finish his thought, everyone turned to flee outside the stone hall. Boom. Just then, the large door of the stone hall closed eerily on its own. The group found themselves trapped inside the stone hall. Miao Fa, at the forefront, summoned a staff and raised it high to strike the stone door. Bang. Miao Fa stumbled back 2 steps. The stone door trembled a few times but returned to its original state. Miao Fa's expression darkened considerably. Not being able to break through the stone door meant they had become fish in a barrel. The meat on the platter for the 4 bronze corpses. He turned to see the 4 bronze corpses rushing toward them and shouted loudly, "Don't run. We can only fight to the death. If we don't kill these bronze corpses, we'll never get out alive." A golden bowl appeared in front of him, radiating brilliant golden light toward one of the bronze corpses. The bronze corpse, illuminated by the golden light, seemed to be pressed down by an invisible force. Its speed drastically reduced, and its movements became sluggish. The corpse energy on the bronze corpse began to dissolve slowly, as if it had encountered its nemesis. Seeing this, the other cultivators realized they could no longer escape and quickly unleashed their techniques to attack the bronze corpses and prevent them from closing in. Tang Fu activated the Flame Extreme Whip, wrapping it around one of the bronze corpses. Just as the long whip was about to ensnare the bronze corpse, it raised a hand and slapped down at the whip. Unexpectedly, the whip cleverly dodged to the side, skillfully avoiding the bronze corpse's palm. Then, like a nimble serpent, the whip swiftly wrapped around the bronze corpse's left leg and extended upward, tightly constricting its body. Having succeeded with his technique, Tang Fu's eyes suddenly became sharp and the whip ignited with searing flames. Flames surged along the long whip, engulfing the bronze corpse. Cold corpse energy emitted from the bronze corpse, intertwining with the fierce flames, creating a violent energy that swept around them. The flames and corpse energy held each other at a standstill, with neither side able to gain the upper hand. Tang Si, help me kill this corpse first. Tang Fu shouted loudly. Aside from Miao Fa, the other 3 monks managed to work together to barely hold off 1 bronze corpse. The 3 Tang family cultivators and 3 loose cultivators combined their strength to barely fend off a single bronze corpse. Hearing Tang Fu's command, Tang Si redirected his flying sword to slash at the bronze corpse trapped by the flame extreme whip. Clang, clang, clang. The flying sword struck the bronze corpse as if it were striking metal, producing a series of sparks, while the bronze corpse's body remained almost unscathed. Seeing this, Miao Fa called out, "These bronze corpses are incredibly resilient. Ordinary spirit weapons can hardly inflict damage on them. What should we do then?" Tang Fu asked. "You all hold off the 3 bronze corpses for a moment. Don't let them get close. Once I use my Buddhist techniques to kill the bronze corpse I've trapped, I'll come to assist you," Miao Fa replied. Tang Fu nodded. "All right." As Miao Fa controlled the golden bowl, he simultaneously called forth his staff. The staff radiated golden light, striking the bronze corpse ensnared by the golden bowl. The staff hit the bronze corpse's head, and surprisingly, the seemingly indestructible skull caved in. Seeing that the staff could injure the bronze corpse, Miao Fa's expression brightened and he continued to wield the staff, striking continuously. After several powerful blows, the bronze corpse's head was crushed. Yet it did not fall. Instead, its corpse energy weakened significantly. Miao Fa struck down dozens more times, smashing the bronze corpse's body into pieces, and only then did the corpse energy dissipate, leaving it motionless. Seeing this, everyone's expressions brightened. The master's Buddhist techniques are truly profound. He can kill a bronze corpse all on his own. Master, come help us slay these 3 bronze corpses, and then we can go find Zhong Liang to settle accounts. Tang Fu shouted. However, Miao Fa did not move. Although it seemed effortless for him to slay the bronze corpse just now, it had actually consumed a significant amount of his spiritual power. He could barely manage to kill 1 more bronze corpse before exhausting his spiritual energy completely. Naturally, Miao Fa would not deplete his power to save Tang Fu and the others, putting himself in a dangerous position with no energy left to use. Miao Fa turned his gaze to the platform. On the platform, Zhong Liang had already opened the enormous bronze coffin. Inside the coffin, there was no corpse or skeleton. Instead, there was a humanoid sculpture made of green wood. The statue depicted a young woman elegantly posed. The wooden statue was intricately carved, lifelike, as if it were a real woman lost in deep sleep. The statue was covered in complex and mysterious runes, giving it an eerie and enigmatic aura. The moment Zhong Liang saw the statue, his eyes widened, shining with disbelief. Soul-nourishing wood. I can't believe such a massive piece of soul-nourishing wood exists in the world, carved into a human form. It's simply wasteful. Soul-nourishing wood is an exceedingly rare 3rd-tier ghostly treasure, highly coveted by all spirits. A piece the size of a palm can prevent the souls of the dead from dispersing for 1,000 years. Once a cultivator forms their golden core, their soul becomes stable and is not easily dispersed. Some cultivators, unwilling to let their souls return to the underworld after death, seek out soul-nourishing wood to house their souls within, allowing them to transform into ghost-like beings. However, this soul-nourishing wooden statue gave off a sense of imminent decay. It was as if time had passed too long, and the spirit within the soul-nourishing wood was nearly exhausted. Zhong Liang suppressed his greed for the soul-nourishing wood. This statue was indeed too strange. He did not dare to touch it lightly, but aside from the statue, there was nothing else in the bronze coffin. This left Zhong Liang feeling greatly disappointed and unwilling. After spending many years and enduring countless hardships to reach this place, was he really going to return empty-handed? Chapter 272. Just as Zhong Liang was at a loss for what to do, he suddenly heard a sound of something breaking through the air from behind. Turning around, he was surprised to see Miao Fa's staff. Zhong Liang quickly summoned a flying sword to strike at the staff at the same time. He hurriedly flipped over, crossing over the bronze corpse coffin, and hid himself beside it. He knew that the flying sword he summoned in a hurry couldn't possibly block Miao Fa's full-force strike. Just as he anticipated, the flying sword was easily knocked away by the staff, which then continued its momentum and struck the coffin. Clang! A sharp, prolonged ringing echoed. The bronze coffin was suddenly knocked over, and the wooden statue inside slid out, rolling down to Zhong Liang's feet. It was as if a long-slumbering ghost was awakened, and a chilling aura emanated from the statue simultaneously. Due to the overturning of the bronze coffin, 2 blood-red jade slips that had been hidden at the bottom of the coffin were revealed. Zhong Liang's expression brightened with joy as he quickly stowed away the 2 blood-red jade slips. Then, he swiftly descended from the platform, distancing himself from the wooden statue. At the moment the statue hit the ground, the 3 copper corpses suddenly became extremely violent. They abandoned the cultivators entangled with them and turned to attack Miaof. Even the copper corpse trapped by the flame extreme whip disregarded the intense heat and charged directly at Miaof. Seeing this, Tang Fu hurriedly released the copper corpse and swung the flame extreme whip toward Zhong Liang. Elder Tang, stop. We already have the techniques. Once we're out, I'll make a copy for you, Zhong Liang said anxiously. How could I possibly trust you again? Tang Fu retorted angrily. In this place fraught with danger, do you want to die here with me? Zhong Liang replied clearly. Prior to this, Zhong Liang hadn't known what treasures lay within the bronze corpse coffin. He initially thought of claiming the treasures for himself, but aside from the statue and the 2 jade slips, there was nothing else. Zhong Liang dared not recklessly touch the strange statue. The blood-red jade slips should contain the techniques that could help break through bottlenecks, and making a copy for Tang Fu wouldn't result in any loss for him. Tang Fu glanced at Miao Fa and the 3 copper corpses surrounding him. Fine. I'll trust you once more, however. I want both blood-red jade slips. You can take the copy you make. Agreed. Zhong Liang nodded. Hopefully, you'll keep your word this time. Otherwise, I'll let you experience the taste of the flame extreme whip burning your body. Tang Fu coldly threatened Zhong Liang before turning to Tang Si beside him. Tang Si, lead the others to attack the stone door. Let's escape first. The Tang family and the loose cultivators, a total of 8 people, worked together to control their spirit weapons and attacked the stone door. On the other side, Miao Fa and the other 3 monks were surrounded by the 3 copper corpses from different directions. Tang Fu, Zhong Liang, you 2 are untrustworthy. You will not have a good end. He cursed while manipulating the golden bowl to control 1 copper corpse. At the same time, he also wielded his staff to strike at another copper corpse. The remaining 3 monks combined their efforts to hold off the 3rd copper corpse. Alone, Miao Fa could not withstand 2 copper corpses. After 1 copper corpse knocked the staff away, it charged at the 3 monks. Seeing this, the 3 monks fell into a panic. In their haste, one of them mistakenly performed the wrong hand sign for their spell. The copper corpse that had been blocked by the 3 monks immediately broke free and attacked them, under the siege of the 2 copper corpses. Within just a few breaths, the 3 monks were overwhelmed. The 2 copper corpses turned around and charged at Miao Fa. Miao Fa was greatly alarmed. He raised his hand and tossed a bead the size of a pigeon egg. The bead was translucent and radiated a profound Buddhist aura. As the bead flew above Miao Fa's head, a brilliant light burst forth. The 3 copper corpses, illuminated by the light, instantly froze in place, unable to move. Zhong Liang and Tang Fu, who were attacking the stone door, both displayed expressions of shock at the scene. Relic seed. The relic seed is a sacred object of Buddhist cultivation preserved using secret Buddhist techniques. After the practitioner passes away, it is typically enshrined in Buddhist temples and has the effect of enlightening future generations in Buddhist nature. Within the relic seed lies the essence of a practitioner's lifetime of Buddhist cultivation, making it a holy object that restrains evil entities like ghosts and zombies. Under the illumination of the Buddhist light, the corpse chi of the 3 copper corpses rapidly diminished, and even their physical forms showed signs of burns. Seeing this, Miao Fa did not attack the copper corpses. Instead, he activated his staff and swung it toward Tang Fu. Smack. Tang Fu cracked the flame extreme whip against the staff, successfully blocking the strike. Miao Fa, are you seeking death? Miao Fa retorted, you treacherous villain. You've caused the deaths of my 3 disciples. I will crush your body into 1,000 pieces. I see you, Miao Fa, being hypocritical. If you had taken out the relic seed earlier, your 3 disciples wouldn't have died. Tang Fu shot back. Humph. As Miao Fa was about to activate the staff again, the relic seed above his head suddenly made a cracking sound, revealing a fine crack. Oh no, this relic seed has been enshrined for too long, and its essence has nearly depleted. It won't last much longer. Miao Fa thought anxiously. Though the corpse chi of the 3 copper corpses had been weakened to some extent, they were still far from being defeated. Miao Fa glared furiously at Tang Fu. Then, between avenging his disciples and saving his own life, he chose the latter. Miao Fa turned the staff around and struck the stone door. Seeing that Miao Fa was no longer attacking him, Tang Fu breathed a sigh of relief under the combined efforts of everyone's relentless assaults. The stone door suddenly emitted a crisp sound and opened a small crack. Everyone rejoiced, and after another round of attacks, the stone door finally broke open enough for 2 people to pass through. A Tang family cultivator rushed out first. However, what awaited him was not an escape route but a terrifying corpse puppet. The silver corpse pounced down with a claw. The Tang family cultivator immediately had his head severed and fell to the ground. The silver corpse stood before the stone door, emanating an overwhelming and formidable aura. It had the imposing presence of a single man standing against 1,000. The over 1,000 yellow essence mushrooms obtained from the Su family, which contained vibrant life energy, had all been refined and absorbed by the silver corpse. At this moment, the silver corpse was no longer the decayed figure it once was. Its flesh and internal organs had regained some vitality, if it weren't for the lack of a heartbeat and breathing. It could even be mistaken for a gaunt corpse cultivator. Songwen stood behind the silver corpse and shouted loudly, "Hand over the 2 blood-red jade slips obtained in the stone hall, and I will let you leave. Otherwise, you will all become fodder for the copper corpses in the stone hall." With the sacred goo hidden inside the hall, Songwen was fully aware of everything happening inside. Zhong Liang shouted angrily, "You're delusional! Get lost!" Before he finished speaking, a flying sword sliced out in rage. The silver corpse swiped its claw, glowing with a ghostly light, and struck out. Clang! The flying sword was knocked away with a swipe. The silver corpse merely swayed its upper body slightly, absorbing the impact of the flying sword without retreating an inch. Just at that moment, the relic seed controlling the 3 copper corpses suddenly shattered into powder, scattering everywhere. The copper corpses regained their freedom and charged toward the stone door. Everyone inside the stone hall was immediately thrown into panic. In front stood the blocking silver corpse, and behind them were the deadly copper corpses. "Attack together! I don't believe he can stop all of us," Zhong Liang shouted loudly. Hearing this, everyone understood the urgency of the situation and had no other choice. They began to activate their spirit weapons and attack the silver corpse outside the door. Songwen sneered, "You're seeking your own death." With a thought, the Ghost King suddenly appeared, wielding a ghostly sword that he slashed toward the stone door. The silver corpse swung its claws, unleashing 3 claw lights formed from corpse chi toward the hall. Chapter 273. The attacks from both sides collided at the entrance of the hall. It was like 2 surging torrents crashing together, causing a violent burst of energy to sweep in all directions. The air was torn apart, and a howling wind echoed. The already damaged stone door was completely shattered into rubble. The silver corpse and the Ghost King were swept back several feet by the residual force. The cultivators inside the hall were also swept back by the wave, some of them seriously injured and coughing up blood. This delay allowed the 3 bronze corpses to catch up and rush towards Tang Fu, and the others' Songwen's gaze pierced through the chaotic battlefield and landed on Zhong Liang. "Hand over the 2 jade slips, and I will let you leave." Zhong Liang looked at one of his subordinates being devoured by a bronze corpse, then glanced outside at the silver corpse and the Ghost King. He gritted his teeth, filled with unwillingness. "Fine, take them." 2 blood-red objects were thrown forcefully towards Songwen at the same time. He followed closely behind and darted out of the stone hall. As the 2 blood-red objects came within several feet of Songwen, they suddenly exploded into a massive cloud of blood mist, engulfing him in an instant. Songwen, along with the silver corpse and the Ghost King, was shrouded in the blood mist. Seeing this, Zhong Liang's face lit up with joy. He dashed through the stone door, avoiding the blood mist, eager to escape. "Where do you think you're going?" Songwen, protected by a bronze bell, rushed out of the blood mist with the Ghost King and the silver corpse following closely. The blood mist had a strong corrosive nature, continuously eating away at the bronze bell. Small holes appeared in the bell but were quickly repaired. Inside the bronze bell, Song-Wen remained unscathed, with the 10,000 poisons body cultivated to the minor accomplishment level. His resistance to poisons was far superior to before. The blood mist caused limited harm to the ghostly beings, and the Ghost King also suffered no injuries. However, the silver corpse's flesh was corroded with small wounds. Though it was nothing serious, the faster Ghost King charged ahead, wielding a ghost sword, and struck toward Zhongliang. Seeing that Song-Wen was completely unaffected by the blood mist, Zhongliang was greatly alarmed. That blood mist was famously known as the blood shadow poison, which would severely injure or even kill foundation-building cultivators. Song-Wen had been completely defenseless, yet he emerged from the blood shadow poison unharmed. Zhongliang had no time to think further as the Ghost King's long sword was already upon him. He hurriedly urged his flying sword to block the attack, but in a one-on-one confrontation, Zhongliang was no match for the Ghost King. Within just a few exchanges, he was beheaded. Song-Wen took Zhongliang's body into his possession, removed the storage ring, confirmed that the 2 blood-red jade slips were inside, and then tucked the storage ring into his robe. Next, Song-Wen sealed Zhongliang's soul within his head. Just as he was preparing to put away the corpse and leave this troublesome place, a series of crisp, bell-like laughter echoed throughout the stone hall. Giggle. Since you've come, why rush to leave? You want to leave, that's fine, but to take the Corpse King's rebirth technique and that person's soul with you? Isn't that a bit too greedy? A shadow flickered, a figure appeared in midair outside the stone hall, blocking Song-Wen and intercepting Tang Fu and the others who had just escaped. Only 3 people had managed to escape alive from the stone hall amidst the 3 bronze corpses: Tang Fu, Miao Fa, and a cultivator named Tang Si. None of you can leave. I have slept for endless years, and it is you who awakened me. In return, I have decided to devour all your souls to solidify my spirit body. You foundation-building ants, being part of my spirit body is your fortune. Giggle. At this moment, everyone finally saw the appearance of the person blocking their escape. This was no living being. It was that wooden statue, originally lying in the bronze coffin. The wooden statue suddenly erupted with 3 phantoms. The phantoms, like soaring dragons, bared their fangs and claws, lunging towards the strongest among them. Song-Wen, Tang Fu, and Miao Fa. Mental attack. Song-Wen, Tang Fu, and Miao Fa all changed their expressions. Miao Fa let out a low growl. Buddha's wrath golden body. A phantom emerged from him, towering over 3 meters tall, a majestic golden Buddha. The dragon lunged at the Buddha, and the 2 collided. Golden light erupted, and waves of energy surged. The Buddha's phantom could only hold for a few breaths before collapsing. The dragon's front claw dug into Miao Fa's body, but his physical form remained unharmed. However, his soul was forcibly pulled away, trapped in the dragon's claw. Struggling desperately, Tang Fu swung the flame extreme whip, igniting it in fierce black flames, striking harshly at the dragon's phantom. In an instant, Tang Fu turned to flee, as a treasured spirit weapon of the Tang family. The flame extreme whip was not only a top-tier spirit tool but also capable of breaking mental attacks, making it a rare spirit weapon of the mental category. The whip struck the phantom's body, and the black flames quickly spread, transforming the dragon into a fire dragon that soon dissipated into nothingness. Giggle. What a nice spirit weapon. Let's see how many attacks you can block. The statue let out a strange laugh as another dragon phantom surged out from within. This new dragon phantom was clearly more solid than the previous 3. Tang Fu turned pale. He hurriedly urged the flame extreme whip again, but instead of striking the dragon behind him, he aimed it forward. Not far in front of him was his clansman, Tang Si. Since the statue did not prioritize Tang Si as a target, this allowed the weakest and slowest in evasion, Tang Si, to escape to the front. Tang Si was ensnared by the flame extreme whip and was then thrown backward. Elder, how could you? Tang Si's voice trembled with disbelief, anger, and fear before he could finish. The dragon phantom passed through him, ripping away his soul. However, the dragon phantom did not stop there. continuing its pursuit of Tang Fu. Tang Si's death bought Tang Fu only a moment. Soon he was caught by the dragon and had his soul taken. Meanwhile, on Song Wen's side, the dragon phantom did not inflict any harm on him, as it was easily devoured by the black hole in Song Wen's sea of consciousness. Immediately, a vast amount of blood mist erupted from Song Wen, gradually enveloping his form. Seeing this scene, the statue chuckled softly. Giggle. What an interesting little fellow. The mental attack is ineffective against you. You must have some kind of mental defense treasure on you. But before me, using blood escape technique? How naive. The statue waved a hand, infusing a stream of soul power into the blood mist. Suddenly, Song Wen felt a weight on his body. The blood mist swiftly dispersed, revealing his figure at the original spot. The blood escape technique was forcefully interrupted. Song Wen's expression hardened. It was the first time he had encountered an interruption while using the blood escape technique. Since he couldn't flee, he would have to fight back. While using the blood escape technique, the Silver Corpse and Ghost King had already been retracted and were now summoned once more by Song Wen. Both were filled with killing intent as they charged towards the statue. At that moment, a magnificent celestial might enveloped the air above the stone hall, and a bolt of lightning materialized overhead. Divine thunder. To Song Wen's astonishment, the statue displayed a look of delight upon seeing the descending thunder. Skillfully dodging the attacks from the Silver Corpse and Ghost King, she surged towards the incoming lightning. Boom! The divine thunder struck the wooden statue, enveloping it like a silver waterfall, constantly washing over its body. Under the wash of the divine thunder, the mysterious runes on the wooden statue began to glow with a blue light and then gradually faded away. When the lightning dispersed, more than half of the runes on the wooden statue had been extinguished. The originally blue soul nourishing wood had turned black in many places. Chapter 274. It is probably the soul residing within the statue. As the wooden statue was damaged, Blood Brows reacted with delight rather than anger. Good, good, good. I didn't expect you to possess the 9 great heavenly thunder secret techniques. I, Blood Brows, am truly fortunate. My soul has been sealed for tens of thousands of years. And just after being released from the corpse coffin, I encounter someone who can help me break the soul shackles. Blood Brows laughed triumphantly. The remaining runes on the wooden statue gradually dimmed, finally transforming into ordinary patterns devoid of any spiritual energy fluctuations. The wooden statue decayed at a visible speed, crumbling into fragments that scattered in all directions. A translucent, beautiful female cultivator's figure appeared in midair. How should I thank you, little one? How about I swallow your soul as well? Giggle. Looking at the phantom of Blood Brows in the air, Song Wen instead felt calm. What could a mere incorporeal soul do to him? Let's see how many divine thunders your soul can withstand. Song Wen raised a hand. The great cave divine thunder reappeared. Just as the divine thunder was about to strike Blood Brow's soul, she suddenly vanished from sight. She reappeared right in front of Song Wen. Nothing to worry about. The power of lightning cannot harm a soul body. It's futile if it doesn't hit. Your cultivation is too low, and the lightning technique you released is too slow. As she spoke, several tendrils emerged from Blood Brow's abdomen, rapidly extending towards Song Wen. Just when she thought she could pull Song Wen's soul out from his body, the smile on Blood Brow's face suddenly vanished. Her expression turned to one of immense terror, as if she had encountered something extremely frightening. A powerful suction force emanated from within Song Wen's body. Through the tendrils, Blood Brow's soul was being dragged, trying to pull her into Song Wen's body. Ah! Blood Brow's soul suddenly let out a piercing shriek. The tendrils from her abdomen snapped all at once. Then she quickly retreated, seeing that the other party could sever her own limbs to escape. Song Wen was also taken aback. He had thought he could completely devour Blood Brow's soul. The speed of her soul body was too fast, even evading the great cave divine thunder, and Song Wen found himself at a loss. What kind of ghostly thing do you have inside you? Why can it devour my soul? After flying over 100 feet, Blood Brows finally managed to stop and turned around. looking at Song Won with lingering fear. The severed tendrils were part of her soul body. At this moment, her soul was incomplete, and if she didn't find a way to restore it in time, it would gradually dissipate. I must quickly find a suitable vessel to parasitize my soul and then figure out how to restore my body. Blood Brows thought to herself. Her gaze swept around, finally landing on the silver corpse. The silver corpse was beginning to show some vitality, and since it lacked a soul, it was an excellent vessel for her soul. With a thought, Blood Brows directed a stream of soul power toward the stone hall. A flash of green light illuminated the entire stone hall, then vanished in an instant. It was as if some restriction had been lifted. The originally grand and majestic stone hall suddenly appeared weathered and ancient, carrying a sense of decay from years of erosion. After everyone fled the stone hall, 3 bronze corpses stood motionless in place. Once the restrictions of the stone hall were lifted, the 3 bronze osses revived again. They charged out of the stone hall, rushing toward Song Won. The only living person. Song Won commanded the silver corpse and Ghost King to meet them. Just as the 2 sides were embroiled in battle, Blood Brows took the opportunity to rush toward the silver corpse, her soul directly merging into its body. The incident happened so quickly that Song Won barely had time to react. By the time he realized Blood Brow's soul had merged into the silver corpse, the silver corpse was no longer under his control. The silver corpse's movements appeared somewhat stiff as it exerted its legs and leaped, charging straight toward the distant lakeshore. Song Won hurriedly formed several corpse control seals. The silver corpse in mid-air suddenly stiffened, plummeting into the lake, then leaped out of the water, fleeing toward the lakeshore. The silver corpse was one of the strongest forces under Song Won's command, and he was naturally unwilling to let it slip away. He and Ghost King chased after the silver corpse. At the same time, a bolt of lightning struck down, crashing into the silver corpse. Boom! The lightning hit the silver corpse's back, sending it flying. The silver corpse rolled over and raced upstream along the underground river. As Blood Brow's soul merged into the silver corpse for a longer time, her control over it became increasingly adept, and its speed picked up, gradually widening the distance between her and Song Won until she disappeared from the range of his spiritual perception. Song Won halted, gazing with great reluctance in the direction where the silver corpse had vanished. Moments later, he returned to the small island at the center of the underground lake. At this time, the 3 bronze corpses were still wreaking havoc on the island. Tang Fu and the others' bodies had already been completely devoured by them. These bronze corpses were incredibly strong, far surpassing ordinary peak 2nd-tier bronze corpses. Having just lost a pseudo 3rd-tier silver corpse, these 3 bronze corpses were perfectly suited to make up for that loss. He waved his hand, and a long rope flew out, wrapping around one of the bronze corpses. At the same time, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky, crashing into the bronze corpse. Ghost King moved in to entangle the other 2 bronze corpses. The long rope was a relic of the Taoist Qing Yan, the same spirit-binding rope that she used to capture Song Won outside East Huafeng. The spirit-binding rope was a high-grade spiritual artifact primarily used to bind enemies. Now, it was perfect for capturing the bronze corpses. A quarter of an hour later, after a fierce battle, Song Won had trapped all 3 bronze corpse techniques, placing them into a corpse-nurturing coffin, and sealed them using he collected the 12 storage rings that had been left scattered inside and outside the stone hall, and also stored the bronze corpse that Blood Brows had possessed. The bodies of the 12 fallen cultivators had been shredded to pieces by the bronze corpses, rendering them completely worthless, and their souls had been entirely devoured by Blood Brows. As for that bronze corpse coffin, Song Won couldn't discern any mysteries from it for now. However, since it could withstand tens of thousands of years of erosion without decaying, it undoubtedly had its extraordinary aspects. After completing these tasks, Song Won turned to leave the stone hall. He did not retrace his steps but instead followed the underground river downstream. Blood Brows had fled upstream where the Blood Cloud Cave was located. Within the Blood Cloud Cave, there were 13 powerful stone statues. If Blood Brows could control those statues, returning to the Blood Cloud Cave would be akin to walking into a trap for Song Won. After traveling several dozen miles forward, the banks of the underground river became impassable with only a dark hole allowing the water to flow through. he had no choice but to dive into the water and follow the current. Downstream, after advancing for over 10 more miles, the underground dark hole revealed a fork. The underground river split into three, flowing in three different directions. Songwon chose the slightly larger dark hole and continued onward. After advancing 30 more miles, more forks appeared continuously and the dark holes became increasingly narrow, making passage difficult. Songwon could only take out his flying sword, clearing a path as he went forward. 2 days later, in a cave more than half a person's height, Songwon bent down, wading through waist-deep water. Suddenly, a glimmer of light appeared ahead. Songwon's expression brightened as he quickened his pace, and moments later, he finally emerged from the underground river. He found himself at the foot of a mountain on its shady side, surrounded by lush trees. The area was thick with shade. After sending the sacred Gu to scout the surroundings and confirming that there were no dangers within a radius of more than 10 miles, he rose on his sword and headed toward the cave where Zhuo Shuiyun had secluded herself. Chapter 275. One day later, several dozen miles outside of the place where Zhuo Shuiyun was in seclusion, Songwon had opened a temporary cave dwelling at the foot of a large mountain. With still over 10 days remaining until the 1-month period agreed upon with Zhuo Shuiyun, Songwon decided to enter seclusion for a while. He released the sacred Gu to guard the surroundings of the temporary cave. After setting up the Qi concealment formation and the 9 palaces in array, he waved his hand. Thud, thud, thud. With the sound of heavy objects hitting the ground, 3 corpse-nurturing coffins appeared inside the cave. Songwon began to use the corpse-refining secret techniques from the true explanation of corpse puppets to refine the 3 bronze corpses in an instant. The entire cave was surrounded by corpse energy. Malevolent aura filled the space, and a nauseating stench of rotting corpses permeated the area. 15 days later, Songwon successfully refined the 3 bronze corpses. He placed 2 of the bronze corpses into the nurturing coffins, leaving behind the strongest one. Previously, he had obtained 2 Xian-Yin stones from the Tianhe family, losing one while refining the first silver corpse. Now, he had 1 left. He planned to refine the bronze corpse before him into a pseudo-third-tier silver corpse. Songwon added the Xian-Yin stone, along with essence blood, spirit stones, and Yin-Fin dew into the corpse coffin, then formed seals to execute the corpse refining technique. In the blink of an eye, another 7 days passed. The silver corpse was still not completely refined, but only 2 days remained until the time agreed upon with Zhuo Shuiyun, and there wasn't enough time to finish refining the silver corpse. Songwon halted the refinement of the silver corpse and used corpse path secret methods to temporarily seal it. After putting away the nurturing coffin, Songwon took out 2 blood-colored jade slips and began to examine them. The first slip recorded a cultivation method called Corpse King Rebirth Technique. The Corpse King Rebirth Technique, like the Corpse King Blood Refining Technique, originated from the Divine Blood Gate. According to the outline of the method, it was a dual cultivation technique for both law and body. The technique was divided into 9 levels, corresponding to the 9 major realms of cultivators, and upon completion, one could directly reach the realm of immortals. However, the jade slip in Songwon's hand only contained the content for the first 3 levels, meaning it only included the techniques for Qi refining and golden core stages. What surprised Songwon greatly was that although the Corpse King Rebirth Technique was a demonic path cultivation method, it could refine corpse energy into vitality. The spiritual power cultivated through this method contained both the impure energies of the corpse path and the pure vitality. This technique was essentially a combination of the Corpse King Blood Refining Technique and the Longevity Technique. Or perhaps, both the Corpse King Blood Refining Technique and the Longevity Technique were merely parts of this technique. It was as if someone had deliberately divided the Corpse King Rebirth Technique into pieces and disseminated them widely in the cultivation world, especially the Longevity Technique, which was the most widely circulated method in the cultivation world, could actually be used to siphon off vitality, helping people extend their lifespan. 1,000 cultivators practicing the Qi refining stage Longevity Technique could extend someone's life by a whole cycle of a decade if it were 1,000 foundation-building cultivators or even 10,000. The effectiveness of extending life would likely increase tenfold or even more if there were no conspiracies involved. It was truly hard to believe, but regardless of any schemes behind the scenes, all of this was unrelated to Songwon. The Longevity Technique had circulated in the cultivation world for countless years. Those who once plotted conspiracies had long since disappeared into the river of time, perhaps turned to dust or maybe ascended, leaving this realm behind. Looking at the Corpse King rebirth technique in his hand, Songwon fell into deep thought. He had always believed that it was his special constitution that allowed him to cultivate both righteous and evil paths, practicing the Corpse King blood refining technique and the longevity technique at the same time. Now it seemed that it might not be the case. These two techniques, at their core, stemmed from the same source. Perhaps the techniques themselves have no distinction between righteous and evil. Whether it's pure spiritual energy or impure energy, they are merely different forms of the energies of heaven and earth, a natural part of the universe. Songwon mused internally at this moment. He had a vague feeling that he could transfer to the Corpse King rebirth technique, and the two spiritual liquid vortices in his dantian would merge into one as a result. After careful consideration, Songwon temporarily set aside the idea of transferring to the Corpse King rebirth technique. Firstly, switching to another technique meant he would have to disperse the cultivation power he had built in the foundation building stage. Having already cultivated the longevity technique to the peak of the foundation building mid-stage, he was just a step away from breaking through to the late foundation building stage. At this time, dispersing his power would leave Songwon feeling somewhat reluctant. Secondly, cultivating the Corpse King rebirth technique required a large amount of corpse-related spiritual materials. Given his current situation, it was quite difficult to gather these materials. The ghost market in the mountain stream could provide some, but it was hard to maintain a stable supply over time. Thirdly, since he was hiding in the Beastmaster sect to evade the pursuit of the Corpse Demon sect, it was truly inconvenient to cultivate the Corpse King rebirth technique. Putting away the jade slip, Songwon began to explore the second jade slip. The contents of this slip turned out to be the self-narration of Shui Mei TL. Changed blood brows to Shui Mei, sounds better. From what was recorded, Songwon roughly understood the sequence of events. The Blood Cloud Cave was a branch of the Divine Blood sect. Shui Mei was the supreme elder of the Blood Cloud Cave and had once been a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. After advancing to the mid-stage nascent soul, her cultivation stagnated. In order to break through to the late nascent soul stage, and even the God transformation stage, Shui Mei set her sights on the sect's ultimate technique, the Corpse King rebirth technique. Shui Mei held the Corpse King rebirth technique in high regard, believing it to be the finest existence in the Tianyuan realm. The Tianyuan realm is the name of the realm where Songwon resides, named after the Tianyuan continent. To obtain the Corpse King rebirth technique, Shui Mei schemed against a genius of the Divine Blood sect. However, she did not expect that the technique she had painstakingly acquired contained only the first 3 levels. What left her in despair was that the incident of plotting against the Divine Blood sect's genius was exposed. The Divine Blood sect sought to eradicate the entire Blood Cloud Cave. However, the actions of the Divine Blood sect were leaked. As a result, before the Divine Blood sect could strike the Blood Cloud Cave, the disciples of the Blood Cloud Cave began to flee from their sect in droves. While other disciples could escape from the Blood Cloud Cave to seek a glimmer of hope, Shui Mei, the mastermind behind it all, could not escape her doom. Under the siege of the Divine Blood sect's powerful members, her physical body was destroyed and her nascent soul was captured. To set an example and intimidate other subordinate forces, the Divine Blood sect extracted her soul and sealed it in a soul shackle made of soul-nurturing wood, imprisoning her on a small island in an underground lake where she was tortured endlessly. Amid the endless torment, Shui Mei's soul repeatedly teetered on the brink of collapse but was nourished back to strength by the soul-nurturing wood, and thus countless years passed without her knowing. One day, the members of the Divine Blood sect who had tormented her never appeared again, leaving behind the 24 indestructible bronze corpses to guard the stone hall. From that point on, Shui Mei's soul, nourished by the soul-nurturing wood, grew increasingly powerful. Gradually, she discovered that her soul had become strong enough to break through the restrictions of the soul shackle, extending some of her spiritual energy beyond the soul shackle and the bronze corpse coffin. Just when Shui Mei thought she could escape, she found that her soul power was enough to move the soul shackle, but she could not leave the bronze corpse coffin. As soon as the coffin moved slightly, the 24 bronze corpses guarding the stone hall would converge and seal the coffin tightly. Chapter 276. Xuanmei realized that it was difficult to escape the stone hall on her own, so she decided to seek external help. Using her soul power, she discovered some leftover jade slips at the bottom of the lake. She erased the content on the jade slips and attached maps of the Blood Cloud Cave and the small island in the underground lake. With her soul power, Xuanmei cast the jade slips into the underground dark river, where they were carried downstream by the current. She hoped that the jade slips would be washed out to the outside world, discovered by cultivators, and bring them to search for treasure, ultimately rescuing her. It was uncertain how much time had passed while she waited. The spiritual essence of the soul nurturing wood used to create the soul shackle was nearly exhausted. Once its essence was depleted, the runes on the soul shackle would directly act on Xuanmei's soul, causing it to scatter and perish. This was the contingency plan left by the Divine Blood Sect. In the end, Xuanmei's scheme succeeded. Zheng Liang obtained one of the jade slips and, along with Tang Fu and others, found the stone hall in the underground lake, overturning the bronze corpse coffin and releasing the soul shackle. Later, by a stroke of luck, Songwen used the Great Cave Thunder, one of the 9 great secret techniques of heavenly thunder, to break the seal on the soul shackle, helping Xuanmei to escape. The 2 blood-colored jade slips in Songwen's possession were also left by Xuanmei. She had done this to lure treasure hunters to help her unlock the seal on the soul shackle. After all, Xuanmei was a nascent soul stage expert from tens of thousands of years ago and was bound to know and have cultivated many ancient secret techniques. After learning Xuanmei's identity, some powerful cultivators could not help but become greedy, hoping to free Xuanmei from the soul shackle in exchange for her ancient cultivation techniques. Songwen destroyed Xuanmei's self-recorded jade slip and stored away the jade slip containing the Corpse King rebirth art. He then took out the bronze corpse coffin. This bronze coffin was over a zhang in length, covered in ancient carvings. However, it showed no signs of spiritual power, appearing to be an ordinary coffin. Songwen infused spiritual energy into it, trying to refine it, but the bronze corpse coffin showed no reaction. After several failed attempts, Songwen casually stored the coffin in his storage ring. Songwen left his temporary cave residence and flew with his sword to the cliff where Zhua Shuiyun was in seclusion. Zhua Shuiyun had not emerged yet, and Songwen, not wanting to disturb her, began meditating and regulating his breathing in a nearby cave. A few days later, at the 4th hour of the Mao period around sunrise, as the first rays of sunlight appeared on the horizon, Songwen was standing in mid-air, watching the first light of dawn. Suddenly, he noticed Zhua Shuiyun's cave opening. Zhua Shuiyun emerged from her temporary cave residence, her expression tired and her steps unsteady. When she noticed Songwen hovering in midair, a trace of panic flashed across her eyes, though she quickly concealed it. "Junior brother Wu, have you taken care of your matters? When did you return?" "Senior sister Zhua, I returned a few days ago," Songwen responded. Turning to face her, Songwen found it odd. He hadn't deliberately hidden his aura when he returned, yet Zhua Shuiyun hadn't noticed. In this unfamiliar place, had her focus during her seclusion been too intense? Songwen's gaze quickly noticed something new at Zhua Shuiyun's waist, a spirit beast pouch. When Zhua Shuiyun saw that Songwen's eyes had landed on the pouch, she became visibly flustered. She adjusted her sleeve to cover the spirit beast pouch, clearly trying to hide it. In an attempt to divert attention, Zhua Shuiyun hurriedly changed the subject. "Junior brother Wu, how do you plan to report the matter of the Chung family to the sect?" Songwen had naturally noticed Zhua Shuiyun's subtle actions. He was well aware that Zhua Shuiyun didn't want too many people to know that she had subdued the blood fiend from the Chung family. "Of course, I'll report the truth," Songwen replied. Pretending to look confused, Zhua Shuiyun was momentarily taken aback, then nodded. "Yes, it should be reported truthfully. Chung Rueda was utterly despicable, using his own family to feed the fiend. In the end, the blood fiend turned on him and they both perished together. That's how it all happened, right, junior brother?" Songwen looked puzzled. "Senior sister, what are you trying to say?" "Junior brother Wu, you don't need to pretend you're a smart person. You should understand what I mean." Songwen smiled faintly. "You're right, senior sister. The blood fiend did indeed perish along with Chung Rueda. However, during the battle with the blood fiend, I was seriously injured. I'm afraid I'll need a large amount of elixirs and spiritual herbs to recover. Zhou Shuiyun coldly stared at Song Wen. She knew very well that during the battle with the Chung family, Song Wen hadn't been injured at all. What he was doing now was merely trying to take advantage of the situation and demand more benefits. Junior brother Wu, you've already taken Chung Ruida's and Chung Han's storage rings. Isn't that enough? Zhou Shuiyun asked. Song Wen replied. Their storage rings didn't contain enough healing elixirs. Zhou Shuiyun was silent for a moment before raising her hand and tossing a storage bag to Song Wen. There are 10,000 spirit stones here. That should be enough for you to fully recover, she said. Song Wen took the storage bag without hesitation and pocketed it. Thank you, senior sister, for your generosity. 2 days later, Song Wen and Zhou Shuiyun returned to the Beastmaster Sect's Alchemy Peak. The two went straight to the mission hall, where they met Lu Weikai. After hearing Zhou Shuiyun's report, Lu Weicai's expression was one of astonishment. His gaze carried a hint of doubt as he scrutinized both Song Wen and Zhou Shuiyun. It wasn't that he doubted the truth of Chung Ruida using his clan members to feed a blood fiend. Compared to a second-tier spirit beast, the lives of a few mortal or chi refining stage cultivators were insignificant. What he found hard to believe was that Chung Ruida would perish alongside the blood fiend. However, he didn't voice his skepticism directly, merely saying in a neutral tone, I will report the matter as you've stated. The sect will send people to verify it, and arrangements will be made for other cultivator families to take over the Chung family's assets. Since the blood fiend is dead, your mission is considered complete. Each of you will receive 3,000 spirit stones and 100 contribution points as a reward. During the 3 years that Song Wen and the others had been in the Beastmaster sect, they had learned how to refine 20 common second-tier elixirs. Once the 3-year training period ended, if they wished to learn new elixir recipes, they would need to exchange contribution points for them. The rarity of each recipe determined how many contribution points were required. For instance, the Golden Core Elixir, which all Foundation establishment cultivators dreamed of obtaining, required a staggering 100,000 contribution points to exchange for both the recipe and the refining method. The Chung family mission had only earned them 200 contribution points in total. After leaving the mission hall, Song Wen made a brief visit to the Shen Alchemy Chamber to request a leave of absence from Kai Jinglu. Song Wen had reached the bottleneck of the mid-foundation establishment stage with his longevity technique and needed to enter seclusion to attempt a breakthrough. To the late foundation establishment stage, as soon as he returned to his cave residence, Song Wen received a message. The message was from Elder Wang Ming, the steward of the Eastern Hua Workshop's law enforcement team, the one who had recommended Song Wen to join the Beastmaster sect in the first place. About a year earlier, Wang Ming had approached Song Wen, requesting him to refine a batch of elixirs. After some consideration, Song Wen had agreed. Firstly, it was an opportunity to practice and improve his alchemy skills. Secondly, it allowed him to earn some spirit stones in daily life. Song Wen always pretended to be short of money, so refusing spirit stones that came his way wouldn't make sense. Although refining large quantities of elixirs for others outside the sect was explicitly prohibited by the sect's rules, nearly every alchemist in the Shen Alchemy Chamber, except for Zhou Si, had likely taken on private work at some point. Wang Ming's message was asking Song Wen to refine a batch of essence-nurturing elixirs for him. This was the 3rd time Wang Ming had asked Song Wen for elixirs. At the moment, however, Song Wen had no time to refine elixirs for him, so he immediately refused. For the next several months, Song Wen devoted himself to cultivation in his cave residence. Apart from occasionally going to the Spirit Medicine Peak to buy Huangjing Ji Yellow Essence Ganoderma, he never left his cave. He spent his time refining elixirs, taking medicinal herbs, and absorbing spiritual power. 8 months passed quietly in this intense cultivation. During this time, Song Wen took a brief break from the sect, leaving for about half a month. He found a secluded place where he completed the refinement of a pseudo-3rd-tier silver corpse. On this particular day, Song Wen emerged from his cave, radiating energy. His longevity technique had successfully advanced to the late foundation establishment stage. He went to the Shen Alchemy Chamber first, reporting to Kai Jinglu, and then entered an alchemy room to practice refining pills. As his cultivation level increased, Song Wen became more and more aware of the importance of alchemy. This realization made him even more diligent in practicing his alchemy skills. For the time being, Songwon split his time between the alchemy chamber and his cave residence. With many alchemists gathered on Alchemy Peak, whenever Songwon encountered difficulties in refining pills, it was easy to find someone to consult. His alchemy skills improved rapidly as a result. Chapter 277. In the blink of an eye. Several months had passed. On this particular day, as Songwon was just leaving the alchemy room, he ran into Zhou Si coming towards him. "Junior brother Wu, I've secured a good job for you," Zhou Si said with a self-satisfied expression. Ever since their mission at the spirit breeding workshop in Great Yen Kingdom, Zhou Si had warmed up to Songwon considerably, treating him as a true junior brother from the same sect. Recently, Zhou Si had rarely come to the alchemy room except occasionally to practice new elixir recipes. "Thank you, senior sister Zhou. May I ask what kind of job it is?" Songwon asked with a smile, cupping his hands respectfully. Zhou Si glanced around at the other alchemists in the hall and waved dismissively. "It's not convenient to talk here. Come with me anyway. It's a job where you can earn spirit stones and contribution points." Without waiting for Songwon to respond, she quickly exited the hall and flew off on her sword. Songwon shook his head helplessly and followed her on his sword. The two of them flew deeper into the Beastmaster sect. After a short while, they arrived in the skies above a valley surrounded by mountains on all sides. The valley was shrouded in mist, obscuring the scene within. This was because the valley was protected by an array, blocking both vision and spiritual senses. This place was located deep within the Beastmaster sect, and the array here was clearly set up to prevent outsiders from peeking. It was obvious that there were sect secrets hidden within, and this valley was one of the sect's restricted areas. "Senior sister Zhou, why did you bring me here? This is a restricted area of the sect. Shouldn't we leave as soon as possible?" Songwon asked. Zhou Si smiled slightly. "With me here, what are you afraid of? Come on, follow me." With that, she lowered her sword light and descended to the edge of the valley without any noticeable movement on her part. The mist in front of her began to churn. A moment later, a narrow stone path suddenly appeared. "Junior brother Wu, hurry up," Zhou Si urged, seeing that Songwon was still hovering mid-air. Songwon didn't move but asked, "Senior sister Zhou, can you at least tell me what this place is? If it's really a sex-restricted area, I don't dare to enter recklessly." Zhou Si rolled her eyes in exasperation. "Look at how cautious you are. It's not like I'd harm you." Just as she finished speaking, a figure appeared from the distant sky and arrived at Songwon's side within a few breaths. It was Lu Jiang. "Elder Wu, it's been years. How have you been?" Lu Jiang greeted Songwon warmly before nodding at Zhou Si, indicating their familiarity. "Greetings, Elder Lu," Songwon said, cupping his hands. "When did you return to the sect?" Lu Jiang replied, "It's been about 3 years since I returned to the sect." Songwon mentally calculated it had been just over 3 years since he and Zhou Si had completed their mission at the spirit breeding workshop in Great Yen Kingdom. In other words, shortly after they left the workshop, Lu Jiang was transferred back to the sect. Elder Lu is now the guardian elder of the sect's library pavilion. Zhou Si suddenly interjected. Songwon stared at Lu Jiang, shocked. "Really? Congratulations, Elder Lu." Lu Jiang smiled. "I owe it all to Elder Zhou, who helped me successfully cultivate the human-serpent hybrid." Songwon glanced at Zhou Si upon hearing this. Cultivating the human-serpent hybrid had earned Lu Jiang the position of guardian elder, and Zhou Si had become a revered elder of the sect. It seemed that the human-serpent hybrid was of great importance to the Beastmaster sect. "Why are the two of you just standing at the entrance to the valley? Why don't you go inside?" Lu Jiang asked. Zhou Si said, "Elder Rong has been short on manpower lately, so I thought of having junior brother Wu give it a try. If he can earn Elder Rong's favor, he could make a lot of spirit stones, but instead, he's overthinking it. Worried that this place is a sex-restricted area and doesn't dare enter." Lu Jiang laughed. "Rest assured, Elder Wu, with me and Elder Zhou here, you'll be perfectly safe." Seeing that the two of them had urged him repeatedly, Songwon had no choice but to follow them into the valley. Sometimes, being overly cautious only arouses suspicion. The three of them followed the narrow stone path for over 100 meters. Soon, a small lake, several miles in size, appeared before them. Half of the lake had been constructed into a series of water serpent enclosures, just like the ones at the spirit breeding workshop in Great Yen Kingdom. "How is there a lake here?" Songwon asked in surprise. There were no rivers within the Beastmaster sect, so logically, There shouldn't be a lake, Lu Jiang explained. This lake wasn't naturally formed. It was created by channeling underground rivers. Soon, the three of them arrived at the entrance of an underground cave. The entrance was about 10 meters wide, with a plaque hanging above it, inscribed with the words, Serpent Cave. As they approached the cave entrance, Song suddenly stopped in his tracks. A continuous flow of corpse energy was emanating from the Serpent Cave. For a righteous sect like the Beastmaster sect, why would there be such a place filled with such malevolent energy? Junior brother Wu, what's wrong now? Seeing Song had stopped walking, Zhou Si turned back and asked, why is there corpse energy here? Song asked, feeling uneasy. Though his expression of unease was feigned, he truly did not want to enter the Serpent Cave. There were clearly some deep secrets of the Beastmaster sect involved in this place. Following the principle of the less you know, the safer you are, Song wanted no part in these secrets. With a sour face, Zhou Si said, Junior brother Wu, you're being way too suspicious. We're already here. Does it really matter whether you enter the Serpent Cave or not? Hurry up. Elder Rong is waiting. Zhou Si urged. Song remained silent for a moment but eventually followed Zhou Si into the Serpent Cave. There were no defensive formations inside the Serpent Cave, or perhaps they weren't activated. Without a formation to obscure things, cultivators could probe everything inside the cave with their spiritual senses, even without entering. As Zhou Si had said, by the time they reached the entrance of the Serpent Cave, whether he entered or not, Song had already been exposed to the secret. After walking several dozen meters, a vast underground hall appeared before them. The hall was clearly man-made, with carefully polished floors and walls, giving it an orderly appearance. The hall was divided into two sections, north and south. The southern section was slightly smaller, with numerous pools scattered across the floor. In these pools, serpents in human form were constantly swimming. These were all fully developed human-serpent hybrids, numbering over 100. However, most of them were newly born first-tier human serpents, and there were few second-tier ones. In the northern section of the hall, there were neatly arranged coffins, numbering over 1,000. Each coffin was marked with a number. Among the many coffins, Song found the coffin labeled number 97. Using his spiritual sense, he detected that it contained the body of Zhao Dapeng's younger brother, the man with rat-like eyes. At this point, he had already stopped breathing. However, some kind of spell had been cast on him, sealing both his soul and body. The corpse remained in the state just after death, with the soul trapped inside. Rong Jingyun stood among the coffins, her brow furrowed and her face full of worry. She held a thick book in her hands, which recorded information about the bodies in each coffin. Zhou Si and Lu Jiang approached Rong Jingyun. Elder Rong, still no progress? Rong Jingyun, looking anxious, shook her head without saying a word. Chapter 278. Elder Rong, didn't you say you wanted to try this with several Foundation establishment elders? This is Wu Shang from Alchemy Peak. Let him give it a try as well. Zhou Si pointed at Song and said to Rong Jingyun. Song had consulted Elder Rong before on formation techniques, so Rong Jingyun still had an impression of him. Rong Jingyun looked at Song and nodded slightly. Since Elder Wu is here, let's have him try. Song was still confused and asked, may I ask, Elder Rong, what exactly do you need me to do? Rong Jingyun did not answer directly but pointed to the coffins in front of them and asked, what do you think is different about these bodies compared to normal corpses? After thinking for a moment, Song replied, these bodies were refined before death using corpse chi and materials with yin attributes, turning them into neither human nor corpse. Their bodies were corroded by corpse chi, causing them to die in prolonged agony. Rong Jingyun was not surprised that Song could tell this much. Any cultivator in the late chi refining stage could discern how these bodies had died. Rong Jingyun said, these bodies were eroded by corpse chi for an extended period before death, leaving them in a strange half-human, half-corpse state, which we call mystic corpses. The corpse chi and vital chi in their bodies show signs of merging, but only signs. What we seek is for the corpse chi and vital chi to fully fuse, creating a new form of special heaven and earth chi, one that possesses both life and death attributes. This new type of chi is called mystic chi. The more than 1,000 bodies before you were all from mortals or low-level qi refining cultivators. Their bodies were weak, making them more susceptible to corpse qi. However, they could not withstand the prolonged erosion of corpse qi, and their bodies collapsed before the qi could fully merge. Late-stage qi refining or foundation establishment cultivators with their stronger spiritual energy and tougher bodies can resist corpse qi and refine it into demonic energy, but too much corpse qi will kill them. Thus, it seems that using human cultivators to cultivate mystic qi is a dead end. So we thought of using a different species with stronger vitality spirit creatures. Coincidentally, Elder Lu has been breeding human serpent hybrids, creatures with incredibly strong vitality and the ability to regenerate even severed limbs. Human serpents are the best vessels for cultivating mystic qi. However, their vitality is so strong that when corpse qi enters their bodies, it is quickly expelled by their life force, making it extremely difficult to refine them into mystic corpses. So far, over a dozen foundation establishment cultivators and 3 golden core experts in the sect have attempted this, but none have succeeded. Rong Jingyun spoke slowly, her tone and expression more like she was thinking aloud to organize her thoughts than explaining to Songwon. After a moment of silence, Rong Jingyun asked, "Elder Wu, in your opinion, is there any solution to this?" After thinking for a while, Songwon replied, "In corpse refining, demonic techniques are most effective. Why not enlist some demonic cultivators to help with refining the mystic corpses?" Rong Jingyun responded, "We've tried that as well. We captured 2 corpse-refining demonic cultivators and had them try, but the results were not ideal. Ordinary demonic corpse refiners cannot solve this problem." With a sigh, Rong Jingyun continued, "Since you are here, Elder Wu, you should give it a try. If you succeed, the sect will reward you handsomely, but remember, everything you see in the Serpent Cave must not be disclosed. Violating this will result in severe punishment for revealing sect secrets." With a serious expression, Songwon bowed and said, "Rest assured, Elder Rong, I understand the gravity of the situation." In one corner of the northern side of the hall, there were 20 small caves, each about 10 meters wide and long, carved into the stone wall. Led by Zhou Si, Songwon arrived at the entrance of Cave No. 10, Junior Brother Wu. "This corpse cave is currently in use. You can refine your corpse here." She raised her hand and tossed a token engraved with the words No. 10 and a storage bag to Songwon. The token is the control token for Cave No. 10. The storage bag contains materials needed for corpse refinement, such as Fin Dew and Yellow Earth. I'm in Cave No. 2, so if you need anything, feel free to come to me. You'll need to go to Elder Lu Jiang to get a human serpent for the half-corpse refinement. He is responsible for providing the human serpents. "Thank you, Senior Sister Zhou," Songwon said, cupping his hands in thanks. After Zhou Si left, Songwon used his spiritual sense to probe the storage bag. Inside, everything needed for corpse refinement was provided. There was a high-grade nurturing coffin, a jade slip with corpse refinement techniques, and various corpse refining materials. The quantity of these materials, including a bottle of Fin Dew, was impressive, valued at no less than 1,000 spirit stones. Seeing the materials in the storage bag, Songwon felt a bit tempted. Fin Dew is condensed from pure corpse energy and is commonly used by corpse refining cultivators above the foundation establishment stage. It was particularly valuable for Songwon, whose cultivation technique, Corpse King blood refinement method, required a large amount of it. The fact that the Beastmaster sect provided so many corpse refining materials just for an initial attempt showed how important refining the human serpent mystic corpses was to them. Putting the storage bag away, Songwon headed to the serpent pit area. "Elder Lu, I'm here to receive a human serpent." Songwon respectfully greeted Lu Jiang. Lu Jiang was observing the growth of the human serpents in the serpent pit when he saw Songwon approaching and kindly responded, "Elder Wu, what strength of human serpent would you like?" Songwon was a bit puzzled. Does the cultivation level of the human serpent make a difference in refining the mystic corpse? Lu Jiang explained, "The higher the cultivation level of the human serpent, the stronger its life force, and naturally, the more difficult the refinement process becomes. However, it can also endure more corpse qi, increasing the chances of successfully creating a mystic corpse and cultivating mystic qi. Since this is your first attempt at corpse refinement, I would suggest starting with a first-tier human serpent." Lu Jiang seemed to be giving helpful advice, but in reality he was reluctant to hand over a second-tier human serpent to Songwon for practice. He didn't believe that Songwon would be able to refine a mystic corpse. Second-tier human serpents were not easy to cultivate, and Lu Jiang didn't want to see one wasted by Songwen. Songwen smiled and said, "Thank you for your advice, Elder Lu. I'll follow your suggestion and start with a first-tier human serpent." Seeing that Songwen agreed, Lu Jiang's face showed a hint of satisfaction. Several people who had come before, thinking highly of themselves, had demanded a second-tier human serpent right away, only to end up wasting one for nothing. "Come. I'll take you to choose a human serpent." Passing through a few serpent pits, Lu Jiang pointed to one of them. "Elder Wu, how about this human serpent?" The human serpent was about as thick as a bowl, at the 7th level of qi refining, and its human form was still that of a child, indicating that it had just been born not long ago. Songwen looked troubled. "Elder Lu, this human serpent is too immature. Let's choose another one." After thinking for a moment, Lu Jiang said, "Fine, considering you helped me out at the Spirit Beast Market in Yen Kingdom, I'll let you choose one from among the first-tier human serpents yourself." Chapter 279. In the end, Songwen selected a male human serpent at the 9th level of qi refining. The human serpent was about the size of a rice bowl, with the appearance of a young boy. It had been restricted, unable to use its spiritual power, and Songwen lifted it with his spiritual energy, heading toward Corpse Cave No. 10. Upon entering the cave, Songwen used the token to seal the cave. Each corpse cave was equipped with a concealment formation, first, to prevent interruptions during corpse refinement, and second, to prevent others from spying. Before entering the cave, Songwen had tested it with his spiritual sense. The concealment formation of the cave could block the spiritual senses of Foundation establishment cultivators. At that moment, there were only Foundation establishment cultivators in the human serpent pit. In other words, everything Songwen did within the corpse cave would go unnoticed by outsiders. To be extra cautious, Songwen hid a sacred goo in a crack at the entrance to the human serpent pit. If a cultivator of the golden core stage entered, the goo would alert him immediately. Songwen took out the storage bag given to him by Zhou Si and carefully examined the jade slip inside. The jade slip recorded an advanced corpse refinement method, along with some notes on refining mystic corpses. The corpse refinement method was of little use to Songwen, but the notes contained valuable insights worth studying. After half an hour of carefully reading the notes, Songwen put the jade slip away. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the corpse-nurturing coffin in front of him. The coffin was over a meter long, pure black, and engraved with the words, Ding 130. The human serpent he had chosen was over 10 feet long, too large for an ordinary coffin. Songwen used his spiritual energy to lift the human serpent into the air and placed it inside the coffin. The human serpent twisted its body frantically, its forked tongue flicking in and out, and its vertical pupils glared at Songwen with hatred. Songwen remained indifferent to the serpent's hostility. He opened the Yin Fiend Dew, flicked his finger, and a drop of concentrated corpse energy floated in the air, drifting toward the human serpent's mouth. Panic flashed in the serpent's eyes, and it quickly withdrew its tongue and clamped its mouth shut with a thought. Songwen used his spiritual power to force the serpent's mouth open. The drop of Yin Fiend Dew fell into the human serpent's mouth. Songwen then began to use the secret corpse refinement technique, forcibly integrating the Yin Fiend Dew into the human serpent's body. An hour later, a piece of Yin yellow earth was stuffed into the serpent's mouth. 1 day later, Songwen had completed the first stage of refining the human serpent. About half of the corpse refining materials in his storage bag had been consumed at this moment. The human serpent, having absorbed too much Yin Fiend Dew, was lying weakly in the coffin, its body brimming with corpse energy, but listless and barely moving. The serpent's body trembled continuously, clearly in extreme pain. Songwen placed the coffin aside and stopped paying attention to the human serpent. The serpent was too weak at the moment to continue the refinement process, or else it might turn into a beast corpse puppet. The corpse cave was filled with an overwhelming amount of corpse energy, and Songwen couldn't resist taking a deep breath. The feeling of openly absorbing corpse energy was truly nostalgic. After meditating and cultivating in the cave for 2 days, Songwen finally emerged as a novice attempting corpse refinement for the first time. Completing the initial stage in just 3 days was no small feat. Had Songwen emerged from the cave 2 days earlier, it would have surely aroused suspicion. "Junior brother Wu, have you completed the first refinement of the human serpent? How did it go?" As soon as Songwen exited the cave, he ran into Zhou Si, who asked with curiosity. After interacting with Zhou Si for several years, Songwen had gradually figured out her habits. She was intensely curious about the unknown and always eager to learn. Take alchemy, for example. When practicing a new pill formula, she would be completely focused, but once she succeeded, regardless of the low success rate, her interest would immediately fade, her deep concern about the success of Songwen's refining of the human serpent could only indicate one thing. Zhou Si was having trouble refining her own human serpent song when pointed to the corpse-nurturing coffin still placed in the corpse cave and said, "Thankfully, I didn't fail. It went fairly smoothly." Zhou Si's eyes lit up. "Really? You succeeded on your first attempt at corpse refinement. Senior sister, you'll know once you take a look." Zhou Si rushed into the corpse cave and approached the coffin. Inside the coffin, black corpse energy swirled, and the human serpent lay weak and lifeless. After observing for a while, Zhou Si raised her head and looked at Songwen with a look of amazement. "Junior Brother Wu, your talent in cultivation is average, and in alchemy it's just SOSO, but I didn't expect that in the art of corpse refinement you have extraordinary talent. You shouldn't have joined the beast taming sect, you should have joined the corpse demon sect." "Who's talking about joining the corpse demon sect?" Rong Jingyun's voice suddenly rang out. Zhou Si turned around, a delighted expression on her face, and spoke to Rong Jingyun. "Come quickly, Elder Rong. Wusheng has just completed his first refinement of the human serpent corpse, and it went incredibly smoothly." Hearing this, Rong Jingyun's expression brightened, and she quickly stepped into the corpse cave. When she saw the state of the human serpent inside the coffin, she too looked at Songwen with amazement. "Elder Wu, have you practiced the art of corpse refinement before?" Songwen's face filled with alarm. "Elder Rong, although I was once a rogue cultivator, I've always known the strict divide between the righteous and the evil paths. I've never dared to practice any corpse refinement techniques when I joined the sect. Vice Hall Master of the Enforcement Hall personally inspected me. There's no trace of demonic aura on me." Rong Jingyun smiled gently. "Elder Wu, don't be Ned. I'm not by your talent in corpse refinement to question or suspect you. I'm merely astonished. Would Elder Wu be willing to demonstrate the process of corpse refinement for me?" "Elder Rong, it would be my honor," Songwen replied. Songwen remained calm in the face of Rong Jingyun's request. When he had put all his effort into refining the half-corpse human serpent, he had anticipated this kind of situation. The reason Songwen was so determined to refine corpses was, of course, for access to corpse refining materials. As long as he showcased exceptional talent in corpse refinement, he would surely earn Rong Jingyun's recognition, allowing him to continuously acquire corpse refining materials from her. Rong Jingyun said, "I will select another human serpent for you. After you've rested and recovered, you can begin refining. How does that sound, Elder Wu?" Songwen replied, "I will follow Elder Rong's arrangements." Rong Jingyun asked, "For this next refinement, do you prefer a first-tier human serpent or a second-tier one?" Songwen's expression became excited. "If there's a second-tier human serpent available, that would be best. First-tier human serpents are still too weak and can't handle much corpse energy." Rong Jingyun nodded and left. Songwen remained in the corpse cave, pretending to meditate and recover. 2 hours later, a second-tier female human serpent, its spiritual power sealed, appeared before Songwen. At this moment, aside from Songwen, there were 5 others in the 15th corpse cave. They were Rong Jingyun, Zhou Si, and Lu Jiang, along with 2 male mid-foundation establishment cultivators. These 2 men, Zhang Bing and Li Shi, were elders of the Beast Peak. Their primary task was to assist Rong Jingyun in managing the human serpent cave and refining human serpent corpses. Under the watchful eyes of the 5, Songwen began refining the second-tier human serpent to avoid arousing suspicion. He did not use the corpse refinement techniques of the corpse demon sect, but instead used the method recorded in the jade slip that Zhou Si had given him. Chapter 280. Due to Songwen's intentional delays, this corpse refinement process lasted a full 4 days. During this time, Songwen deliberately pretended to be unfamiliar with the refining techniques, almost causing the process to fail several times. However, it was a false alarm each time. Other than wasting some corpse refining materials, no significant damage was done. In the end, despite some setbacks, the first refinement of the second-tier human snake was completed. The second-tier human snake consumed significantly more Yin Du than the first tier one, especially since Song Wen intentionally wasted some. An entire bottle of Yin Du was nearly depleted. Song Wen wiped the non-existent sweat from his forehead, exhaled a long breath of relief, and wore an exhausted expression. Elder Rong, I have completed the task successfully. Rong Jingyun looked at the second-tier human snake inside the Dingno 136 corpse coffin, unable to hide her delight. Elder Wu, you won't need to take up any more duties in the alchemy hall. Just focus on refining the human snake corpses in the serpent cave. Song Wen's expression stiffened. He wanted to receive corpse refining materials from Rong Jingyun, but he also desired to practice alchemy. Elder Rong, though my talent in alchemy is average, I am still passionate about it. I'm willing to refine corpses in the serpent cave, but I hope you will allow me to continue practicing alchemy in the alchemy hall. Rong Jingyun smiled faintly and waved her hand, saying, Elder Wu, you've misunderstood me. I'm not forbidding you from practicing alchemy in the alchemy hall, but I don't want you wasting too much time on the tasks there. Once you begin working in the serpent cave, you'll receive a monthly salary of 2,000 spirit stones, along with 4 contribution points from the sect. In your free time, you can still go to the alchemy hall to practice. If you encounter any difficulties in alchemy, you can ask me for guidance. I do have some insights into the art of alchemy. Song Wen seemed overwhelmed by this sudden stroke of good fortune and stood in a slight daze for a moment. His face then lit up with joy, and he clasped his hands in thanks. Thank you, Elder Rong, for your kindness. Rong Jingyun, satisfied with Song Wen's reaction, nodded approvingly. She then used her spiritual sense to communicate privately with Song Wen, saying, Elder Wu, the task of refining human snake corpses was personally assigned by the Supreme Elder. If you succeed, the sect will reward you generously. I hope you can seize this opportunity. Rong Jingyun's use of spiritual sense to communicate was clearly intended to keep others from hearing this. After hearing her words, Song Wen didn't say anything further. He merely nodded towards her, indicating his understanding, having discovered Song Wen's exceptional talent for corpse refinement. Rong Jingyun was in a good mood. She said to the others, Everyone, you may leave. If you have any questions about corpse refinement in the future, feel free to consult Elder Wu. The others slowly dispersed, and Song Wen also rose, planning to return to his cave dwelling. Junior brother Wu, where are you going? Zhou Xin asked when she saw Song Wen leave the 15th corpse cave. I'm heading back to my cave dwelling to cultivate, Song Wen replied, puzzled. If you return to your cave dwelling, who will take care of these 2 human snakes? Zhou Xin pointed to the 2 human snakes in the 15th corpse cave. Just put them in the serpent pit and let them recover slowly. Won't that be fine? Song Wen replied as if it were the most obvious thing. That won't do. Elder Wu, you must keep a close eye on the condition of the 2 human snakes. Rong Jingyun suddenly interrupted after a brief pause. She continued, Here's what we'll do, Elder Wu. Take these 2 human snakes back to your cave dwelling with you. Take them to my cave dwelling? Song Wen looked surprised. But how can I bring them there? The existence of human snakes was a secret and could not be exposed. Moreover, human snakes were living creatures and were not Song Wen's spirit beasts, so they couldn't be stored in his storage ring or kept in a spirit beast pouch. It would be nearly impossible to transport them to his cave dwelling without being noticed by others. That's easy. Rong Jingyun waved her hand, and a thin veil several meters long appeared. This veil is woven from the web of a 3rd-tier demonic beast, the scarlet blood demon spider. It can block spiritual sense detection if you cover the corpse-nurturing coffin with it. Even a peak foundation establishment cultivator will find it difficult to detect the presence of the human snakes. Song Wen clasped his hands and said, Thank you, Elder Rong, for your assistance. Rong Jingyun replied, Remember to return it after you're done. As she spoke, she raised her hand and tossed Song Wen a small bronze mirror, the size of a palm. This is the Haoqi mirror. After a simple refinement, you'll be able to use it. It can conceal the corpse qi on your body. Cultivators below the golden core stage will have no chance of detecting anything unusual. Also, go to Elder Lu to obtain a guide for raising human snakes and their feed. Half an hour later, Songwon returned to his cave with 2 corpse coffins. In one corner of the cave, he dug 2 snake pits, each about 3 meters wide, and placed the 2 human snakes in them. He then took out 2 sets of formation flags and inserted them around the pits. Each set of flags was for a 7th grade formation called the 6-hexagram demon locking array. This formation was the most commonly used by the Beastmaster sect to imprison 7th grade spirit beasts that hadn't formed a contract yet. With the 6-hexagram demon locking array, the sealing curse on the human snakes could be temporarily lifted, allowing them to recover their spiritual power. This spiritual power would resist the corpse G within them, speeding up their recovery and preparing them for the next round of corpse refinement. With a wave of his hand, a red, blood-soaked meatball the size of a basin appeared in Song Wen's hand. The meatball emitted a strong bloody smell and was specially made by the Spirit Beast Peak as food for the human snakes. It contained the flesh and blood of unknown demonic beasts and spirit herbs said to rapidly increase the cultivation of human snakes. Songwon tossed the meatball into the snake pit of the 7th grade female serpent. The human snake, having had its sealing curse lifted, angrily struck the stone walls of the pit with its tail. The stone walls emitted a green light, blocking the attacks of the human snake without harming it at all. Seeing that it couldn't break through the barrier of the 6-hexagram demon locking array, the human snake hissed, raised its body, and pressed its face against the formation barrier. Its vertical pupils glared at Songwon with intense killing intent and hatred. Songwon ignored the hostility of the 7th grade female human snake. He then pulled out another meatball, cut off a small portion, and threw it into the snake pit of the 1st-tier human snake. With the strength of a 1st-tier human snake, it couldn't consume an entire meatball in one go. Afterward, Songwon set up the spirit concealing formation and the 9 palace in array, though it's worth noting that these 2 formations did not cover the snake pits. He then threw the remaining large portion of the meatball to his pair of sacred goo. The strength of the sacred goo had already reached the peak of the early 7th grade, but they had long been stuck without a way to break through. Their power had not improved for some time. As soon as the sacred goose smelled the meatball's foul scent, they buzzed their wings and flew over. Their heads swelled to the size of eggs, and they began devouring the meatball. In just 2 breaths, the meatball disappeared without a trace. After finishing the meatball, the sacred goose circled around Songwon, conveying a strong sense of dissatisfaction. The meatballs had been obtained from Lu Jiang, and Songwon had received a total of 70. The human snakes ate every 2 days, and these meatballs were their rations for 70 days. Once broken, the meatballs couldn't be stored for long. Thus, even if the 1st-tier male serpent couldn't eat an entire meatball in one go, its ration every 2 days still had to be a whole meatball. In the serpent cave, where there were many 1st-tier human snakes, several would share a meatball, so there was no worry of waste. However, at Songwen's place, there was extra meat, which became the sacred goose food. Songwen summoned the 2 sacred goo, leaving only one behind. He took out a meatball and placed it in front of the remaining bug. Like a whirlwind, the sacred goo devoured the meatball in just 10 breaths, yet the bug was still not satisfied and continued to beg for food from Songwon. Songwon tossed it another meatball.